Hello, everyone. This is Pig Demon or Pig Demon Art, or as some of you know me, Pigeon Fart. You might be wondering what this video is about. Recently, I did a small text post that asked if some of my followers were still interested in knowing what I had planned for my old fan comic called Retirement. Chances are, if you followed me, it was because of that, or of that era where I would draw nonstop fan art of Roadhog and Junkrat and other Overwatch related stuff. But if you don't know what that is or what the hell I'm talking about, don't watch this video. Just don't. You really have no reason to unless you want to hear me ramble. But yeah, this isn't for you. You're the ye old Undertale fans. This ain't for you. Porn bots. Who else follows me? No one else follows me. I have Undertale fans, and I have Overwatch fans, and I have a few people that really like chunky dudes. I know who you are. I know the way you look at my son. But yeah, if you want to listen, that's fine. I'm just gonna ramble about nothing for like a few minutes. So, what was Retirement? Retirement was a mistake. It was a comic, an Overwatch comic centered around Junkrat and Roadhog, and the silly yet touching concept of them growing old together, or rather 20 years into the future where they're much older and much more sick. They were sick and they were depressed and they had finished their life of crime. Somehow they survived, and now what was left, they only had each other. Basically, it was meant to be based on their friendship, but it was kind of shippy in a lot of regards. For example, they were always naked for some reason. Yeah, those were the days. But yeah, for a while, this comic was my baby. And you know how it is with babies. You love them, you feed them, you slave over them just for them to grow up and turn on you. And that's when you decide to kill them. And I had to kill Retirement. I mean, I didn't do it with that mindset. It's just, it became a hassle. That's what happened. Overwatch came into my life when I was in a transitional phase. I was moving away from my home to America for college, and Junkrat and Roadhog were kind of like my coping mechanism to deal with all that stress. And they were just so fun. Drawing fan art is really what made me grow as an artist, as kind of as a person, because I got to interact with people more. I met a lot of cool, super cool people because of it. And it gave me a lot of opportunities. But most of all, it made me very happy. And it got to a point where just like having to dish out a comic page every week was very difficult. Apart from that, I also entered college, art college, where they start hammering in that I have to focus on my career. So a lot of my work became more original. And I'm not saying fan art is bad and doesn't help you grow in your career. On the contrary, it can totally help you in that regard. But for my sake, I saw it as I had to start moving away from that because one, it wasn't making me as happy as before. I became a little obsessed with notes. Like I would look every day at the tags that people were doing in the reblogs and look at the notes, and I would see that it was less notes than the comic prior, and I would really like worry. So I started slaving over the comic a bit too much, and obviously I had to focus more on homework and my university. So it was a back and forth between what was more important to me. So I ended up cutting loose the comic. Either I started by posting less frequently, and then I just stopped posting. I promised a new page would come out, but it didn't. So yeah, enough about that, about what happened. You guys want to know what was going to happen. So from where we left off, it was going to continue with Jameson just getting sicker and sicker by the day, and he is just a walking corpse at this point who is just vomiting everywhere, like bleh over here, bleh over there, and just bleh all over everywhere. So Roadhog is the one who has to clean him, and just shoving Jameson in the bathtub all the time. And it's really putting a toll on Jameson and his psyche because he's really sad. Like he just wants this to be over because he's suffering, but he also doesn't want Roadhog to have to slave over him when he's just as bad. He's also sick and he's also like ready to perish. So at one point, I think they go to sleep, and Jamie walks out at him in the middle of the night, right? So Mako notices and he has to pursue him because he's like, oh shit, this motherfucker just walked out. He's gonna do something stupid. I gotta go look for him before he does something dumb. And the poor Mako, he's so old. He's so old and tired at this point, but he still has to put up with Jameson's shit, which is kind of the reason why Jamie left in the first place. He knows he's a handful. He knows he's been rough to both of their like their health. So he walks off and he just wanders off the farm. Like he just straight up leaves in the snow, not knowing where he's gonna go, but as long as he goes far away, maybe Roadhog will finally get some sleep. Like that's his mentality right now, right? So eventually Roadhog finds him and he just beats the shit out of Jamie, and they are arguing, they are fighting, they're having an emotional moment. The emotions are stacking up, and they're blaming each other, and they're hitting each other as much as they can because they are old. Again, they're old and crusty, and they can't really like punch very well. They're just sort of like lightly slapping and trying to like push each other away. So it ends up with Jameson just rambling, like he words vomits everywhere, and just finally expresses how he feels in his own messed up way. So one of the things that he blurts out at the very end when he's coming down from it is, "Why'd you have to care about me?" Right? He asks Roadhog, like, "Why'd you go through all this effort? Why'd you have to do that? Why couldn't you just let me, like, blow up or something?" And Roadhog admits in his very sad and dejected way that Jameson is all he had left. So it's pretty silly, but it's also quite sad when you think about it, that these two old dudes, they grew together, they were vicious together, but in the end they were all they had. Roadhog didn't have a family, Jameson didn't have a family. They cared about one another in their own way. So they're about to hug it out, just have a moment, and suddenly, bam, a car. Jameson gets hit by a fucking car. So the Green Man steps on the scene, and Jameson gets run the fuck over. So it just cuts to black at that point. And it was supposed to be this cool little stupid soap opera cliffhanger where we don't know what happened to Jameson or if that was gonna be the end of the comic. But man, was it? I'm glad that's one for the books. That's a cliche and a half. So whatever. Obviously, that's not where it was gonna end. They wake up in a hospital because I don't know how they got there. Details get really fuzzy here. Probably Roadhog killed the person that ran him over and just stole the car and took Jameson as fast as he could to a hospital, the nearest one. I don't know how they're doing this. They're so crusty, but they're managing. I don't know. God bless them. They wake up in a hospital. Jameson is just happy that Hog is there. They don't want to stay. I mean, Jameson doesn't want to stay at the hospital, but because like the doctors are robots and he'd just rather go home. He hates being here. He doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want Hog to be here, but he's just being stubborn and silly, right? So Roadhog convinces him through their arguments that they should stay. And they end up doing that. So a lot of hospital shenanigans happen. Woo! Shenanigans! And they just fuck around a bit in the hospital. They just have a grand old time. Eventually they get told by a doctor that they're not gonna heal, but just live for a few months more. Jameson actually gets told that he's going to live less time because that's what he asks. Like, he very specifically questions, like, okay, but how much does Roadhog have left? And how much do I have left? Like, he cares more about that. But it still, like, affects him a little bit to know that he's going to be the first one to go. Uh, because his health is just too far gone. At the moment, it made sense when I wrote this. It made sense to me that Jameson was the first one to go. I don't know if it still makes some sense, but I guess my theory at the time was that because he grew up in the wasteland and he developed, into an adult living in that environment, he kind of became like susceptible to diseases. I guess in a sense it would make him more durable, but he also messed around with explosives way too much. That's why he had a hearing aid and he had to wear glasses and he was just all sorts of messed up when after 20 years of doing that. So I guess it made some sense that Roadhog would have a little bit more time because he would be put on like he had curable stuff. Jameson was just way too far out there to even mess with. Which I guess does not make sense in the Overwatch universe where technology is like so vast. But I guess my reasoning is that who the hell would care about saving an old man or a 40 something old dude with no health care? Oops, topical. Anyway, uh, they have a little bit of time, so they try to make most of it. This is going on for so long. What happens next? Fucking the police show up. That's what happens. Who fucking wrote this shit? I wrote this shit. Is it stupid? Yeah, it's fucking stupid, but I don't care. So for some reason, because I thought it would be interesting if the comic ended with a big bang, because I didn't see any other way for them to die other than having it be epic and awesome and fiery and like just amazing. So I wanted to implement a car chase scene and I wanted a hostage situation. I wanted all the beans. So yes, after they realize that the police are here, they have like just a very convoluted hilarious sequence where they're trying to escape from the hospital without being noticed because they were identified. Obviously, they were identified after 20 years, the bounty has not disappeared entirely, even though they thought it did. They were still kind of wanted, even if they were on the bottom of the list. So the police are after them, and they are old and wobbling. Junkrat doesn't even have his leg; he's like on a wheelchair. So as they're trying to leave, they're like taking hostages. They're like sneaking past guards. They're stealing guns. They end up stealing an ambulance because fuck it, why not? We're gonna go all the way. So it just becomes bang bang, vroom vroom, yeah boy, fire in the hole, whatever. What a lovely day. You hook 'em, and I'll die a slow and painful death. So they end up crashing somewhere in that car chase scene, which was going to be super cool and fun. And for some reason, they're still alive because, I don't know, they're built like a fallout shelter, man. They are some tough dudes. They don't give up easily. So Hug is bleeding. He is. The crash was tough on him, so he is bleeding everywhere, and they got real messed up. So Junkrat finds his way towards Roadhog, and he is just given up at this point. He's like, it's enough running, this is the moment, this is the deathbed scene. And I'm not gonna read what I wrote for their final words, but basically they start saying puns to each other. They say explosion puns. Like, I had a blast, and I always wanted to go out with a bang, which I think I said earlier, but yes, that's essentially what they start doing, and they start laughing and crying, and it's bittersweet. It's supposed to be a little crazy, it's supposed to be a little silly, just like them. But yes, we see Junkrat and Roadhog just holding on to each other, and finally they explode in a big, fiery explosion of love. Of love! It's love! Kaboom! A big, fiery kaboom. And that's it. That's the end of retirement. Hooray! So yeah, I want to say that although it was a very difficult comic to keep up with and update frequently, I still had a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I got to draw my favorite characters, which I enjoyed so much, and I really got to like explore their characters a little bit. A lot of it was headcanons, a lot of it was speculation because not everything lore-wise was released yet. But it was a fun project. And I also got a lot of support from people online. A lot of you guys are still fans because of it. And I'm very grateful for the responses I got to that text post. It blows my mind that some of you are still so interested in the story that I didn't get to tell completely. Thank you all for listening. Sorry this went on for so long, uh, but I really hope you enjoyed that and that you keep following me even though you already know the ending. If you don't want to follow me, that's fine too, you know. Thank you for being here up to this point. But yeah, see you later.